You'd think owning a multi-million-dollar IT consulting firm would come with at least some immunity to life falling apart in slow motion. Spoiler, it doesn't. My name's Mark Dillon, and I'm the guy who accidentally ended up on the set of a real-life soap opera while thinking I was just tagging along to a film festival. Yeah, that kind of week. Ellie and I had been married 6 years, 9 years together if you count the early broken cute days before my company took off. And before she started working with celebrities and their personal brands. You know, hashtags, press tours, and enough lip gloss to choke a horse. She was a dreamer, always had been. Grew up on movie soundtracks and celebrity interviews. I was the grounded one. Spreadsheets, sarcasm, black coffee. Somehow it worked. I figured we were a good match, brains and heart, logic and sparkle. One of those odd couple setups that just clicks. Then came the Ryder Sloane chapter of our marriage. Ryder Sloane, Hollywood's favorite bad boy turned charmer. The guy who made denim on denim cool again. If charisma had a cologne, it would smell like Ryder. He had that boy next door smile with just enough trouble behind it to make PTA moms blush. Ellie's agency got the gig to manage his PR for a European press tour. And when she told me about it over breakfast one morning, wearing my t-shirt and pouring almond milk into her cereal like nothing was changing, I supported her. "It's just a job," she said. "Besides, you know I'm not into him like that." I believed her. Because back then I still thought loyalty was bulletproof. At first it was cute. She'd text me blurry photos of foreign hotel lobbies, bottles of wine with labels I couldn't pronounce, stories of fans screaming at airports. Then she started missing calls. Said the time zones were messing with her. Some nights I'd fall, asleep with the phone in my hand, hoping I'd hear that cheerful, "Hey babe," again before 2 a.m. I noticed the changes in small increments. Her eyes looked tired even in selfies. She stopped asking about my day. She said things like, "It's just been so much, you know?" with this glazed look, like she was halfway somewhere else. I chalked it up to travel fatigue, jet lag, stress. Then came the invite to La Palme d'Argent, the glitzy San Moreno Film Festival. Think Cannes, but with cheaper rosé and way more influencers pretending to be producers. Ellie's agency had passes for both of us. "You always said you wanted to see Spain," she told me, flipping through a folder of RSVPs like she was reading a grocery list. I didn't think twice. I booked my flight. Bought a new suit. Figured it'd be a great little escape from my deadlines and her stress. Just the two of us under the Mediterranean sun. Except, it wasn't just the two of us. From the minute we landed, everything felt like it was moving in fast forward. Too many flashes, too many designer sunglasses, too many people pretending to care about the art. Ellie slid into that world like a hand into a silk glove. She posed effortlessly on the red carpet, accepted champagne from strangers, laughed a little too hard at Ryder's jokes, and Ryder, well, let's just say he wasn't subtle. He had his arm around Ellie's waist for a photo and didn't let go right away. His smile said camera, but his hand said mine. I didn't say anything then. Thought maybe I was being paranoid. She'd been in PR long enough to know how to play the part. But then came the swimsuit. We were at the resort pool. Ellie emerged from the suite in something that made Victoria's Secret look like Amish wear. "It's a gift from Livia Noir," she said, apparently a European brand so exclusive it didn't even have a website. Just a waiting list and a mysterious black envelope with gold-embossed letters. The swimsuit didn't leave much to the imagination. And when she stepped into the water for a press shoot, Ryder was already waiting, shirtless, all abs and fake humility. They posed. She laughed. He touched her hip. For balance. My jaw tensed like a vice. "Relax, babe. It's for work," she said later, drying her hair like it hadn't just turned into a tabloid moment. I tried to shake it off, told myself it was just my ego. That night she said she had a quick agency mixer. She left the hotel around 8 p.m., said she'd be back before 10. She came back at 11:13 p.m., wet hair, different dress, smelled like someone else's cologne, not mine, not hers. "I just stopped by the room to change and got caught up," she said, like she was describing a late Starbucks run. That was the first time I didn't say, "It's okay." The next day I checked her phone. Yeah, I know. Not my proudest. move, but instincts don't always wait for permission. The chat with Ryder was under his assistant's name. Cute. Most of it was emojis and inside jokes, but one line stuck with me. Let's try to sneak off again. Yesterday was, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I needed context. So I played the good husband. I smiled for the cameras, shook hands with agents and sponsors, even made polite small talk with Ryder himself. He was slick, always acting, like I was his buddy, like we were in on some industry joke I hadn't heard yet. Meanwhile, Ellie started doing this thing where she'd accidentally leave her phone in the room, or lose signal. The woman used to FaceTime me just to show me her breakfast smoothie. Now she couldn't be reached for hours in a city with 5G on every palm tree. The final straw? One morning, I ordered room service while she was out for fittings. I asked the server to bring it for 2. He looked confused and said, "Oh, the lady already ate. Breakfast by the rooftop pool with Mr. Sloan." I tipped him €50 just so he'd stop talking. And I sat there, alone, next to a half-melted croissant and 2 untouched mimosas. At that point, I wasn't even heartbroken, just insulted. Like I'd been written out of a story halfway through, and no one told me. That night, I opened a fresh bottle of whiskey and made a list on hotel stationery. 1, do not cause a scene. 2, do not punch Ryder Sloan. 3, do not ask her why. 4, get evidence. 5, finish this like a CEO, not a jealous idiot. By then I knew, I just didn't know how far it had gone. Spoiler, I was about to find out, in the most Hollywood way possible. The night of the awards show started deceptively smooth. Ellie looked stunning. Black dress, high slit, some limited edition diamond cuff that was on loan from the brand. She didn't look like the woman who used to wear my flannel shirts while making microwave popcorn. She looked like someone famous, or someone trying to be. We walked the carpet, or rather, she walked, I followed. She was pulled aside for photos with Ryder more than once. Paparazzi loved them together. He was in a white tux, undone bow tie, very devil-may-care. I noticed his hand slip to her lower back with muscle memory. That wasn't PR, that was routine. I held it together, smiled, nodded, clapped when Ryder won Best Actor for Fire in Casablanca. Not a bad film, to be fair. But the after party? That's where the mask slipped off completely. It was hosted at Lumen, the most pretentious rooftop bar in San Marino. Think golden lighting, mirror tiles, champagne that tasted like Insecurity and a playlist designed to be expensive noise. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone's pretending. Ellie disappeared early in the night, something about helping manage press. I wandered, avoided small talk, tried to enjoy a $200 cocktail served in a seashell. Yes, really. That's when Ryder approached me, slurring just slightly, clearly a few glasses into his humble winter routine. He clinked his drink against mine and said, "Hey, Mr. Dillon, damn, your wife is something else." I forced a tight smile. She's always been something. No, I mean it. Total firecracker. Never thought PR people could be that fun. He said fun like it had quotation marks around it, like a guy who'd just shared a secret, or wanted to. I stared at him. "You're talking about my wife." Ryder chuckled, swirled his drink, then leaned in a little too close. "Look, man, no disrespect. It just kinda happened, you know. Europe, late nights, hotel bars. Sometimes people get curious." I said nothing. My silence was louder than any threat. Then he added, "She was curious too. Trust me." I took a step closer. My voice was flat. "You want to keep her?" He blinked. "Nah, come on, man. I'm not trying to keep anyone. I just enjoyed the ride." The ride, the ride. Don't know if it was the lighting or the music or the fact that he looked proud of himself, but I snapped. I slapped him. Not a punch, a slap, full open palm, right across his smug Hollywood face. Gasps, cameras, people pulling out phones faster than a fire drill. He stumbled, dropped his drink, looked stunned, and honestly, a little impressed. Security. arrived within seconds. Ryder didn't press charges, probably too embarrassing, but local police showed up anyway. They loved the drama. I was escorted out like a bouncer was my +1. Hours later, a quiet man in a suit from Ellie's agency knocked on my hotel door. "We'd like to resolve this quickly and discreetly," he said, sliding a folder across the table like we were in a spy movie. The offer? 4.5 million euros. Cash, tax handled, NDAs signed. I walk away from Ellie with zero noise, zero claims, and zero property disputes. She gets nothing. Not the house, not the stocks, not the convertible she liked to call her Freedom Mobile. All I had to do was agree. And one catch, give Ellie 1 hour to talk, just her and me, no lawyers, no yelling. Closure, they called it, like it was a gift. At first I laughed. She already had her closure, I said, apparently in a hotel suite. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wanted to see her crack, not out of cruelty, just curiosity, the kind you feel before you peel back a bandage. The meeting was set for the following morning. Conference room, top floor, just us. A pot of coffee on the table, rain tapping the windows like a cliché screenwriter had ordered it. She walked in slowly, no makeup, hoodie, puffy eyes. For a second I saw the girl who once cried watching a Pixar movie on a plane. I said, "Nothing." She spoke first. "I messed up. No kidding. I was lonely, not from you, just from myself." Everything was shiny, fast, flattering. Ryder paid attention in a way that felt exciting, and stupid, and wrong. I raised an eyebrow. "You do know you're using therapy words, right?" She smiled sadly. "Because I am in therapy." I let the silence hang. "I love you, Mark," she said. I always did. Even when I was being the worst version of myself. I could have yelled, asked for details, but I didn't. Instead, I asked, "Was it just once?" She hesitated. "It wasn't about the number. It was about what I let myself become." I nodded. That was an answer. Then she said something that flipped a switch. "With him? I tried things. Things I never felt brave enough to do with you." That's when the room got cold, not because of what she said, but because of what it meant. It wasn't just sex. It was intimacy, exploration, permission. She gave him a version of herself that she kept from me for nearly a decade. And that stung more than any betrayal. I stood up, adjusted my jacket. "Tell the agency I'll take the deal," I said. She reached out, barely, like her hand didn't quite believe her heart. "Can I hug you?" I nodded. It wasn't passionate or romantic. It felt like two people mourning a funeral only one of them attended. When she left, she didn't look back. I didn't either. But the weight of it, that stuck with me like the aftertaste of bad whiskey. Fast forward a few months. My divorce was finalized. The dust had mostly settled, and I had thrown myself into work like it owed me something. I hired a new COO, doubled the company's European clients, and started jogging again. Not because I liked it, but because it gave me something to outrun. I wasn't sitting around pining or brooding. That's not how I'm wired. I wasn't lighting candles to Bon Iver and whispering her name to the stars. I was just moving forward, one brutally organized day at a time. Then one afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer. He told me Ellie's attorney had requested a final sit-down. Not about paperwork, not about property, just a goodbye. That was the word they used. She'd like to say goodbye face to face, for closure. I rolled my eyes hard enough to nearly sprain something. At first I said no. Closure is a luxury people ask for when they already got away with everything. But a week later I changed my mind. Not out of nostalgia, just curiosity, the same kind of impulse that makes you open the fridge again, even though you already know there's nothing in it. The meeting was set for a small conference room at the courthouse where the final documents were being processed. When I walked in, she was already there, sitting by the window in a blazer 2 sizes too big, no makeup, hair in a loose bun. The glam Ellie I remembered, the one who looked airbrushed in real life, was gone. In her place was someone quieter, sharper around the edges, like a knife dulled and resharpened in the wrong hands. She stood when I came in and gave a nervous smile. "Thanks for coming," she said, like we were exes who had run into each other at a college reunion. I sat down, didn't say anything right away. I just waited to see what she'd do with the silence. "I'm not here to win you back," she said quickly, as if she knew what I was thinking. I realized I never really apologized like a person, like a human being." I nodded. "Okay, go ahead." She exhaled. "I ruined the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't even realize how much until it was gone. I went to therapy twice a week, and it hit me. I never knew how to be loved without trying to perform for it. You were always steady, always safe. I mistook that for something boring. Turns out it was everything I actually needed." I stayed quiet, mostly because there wasn't anything new in what she said. These were the lines you hear in breakup movies. The difference was that her voice didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded tired, genuinely worn. She continued, "I moved out of the city. I'm down south now, near Valencia. I help out at an animal shelter. No Instagram, no events, no champagne, with influencers. Just dogs that bark too much and cats that don't care whether you're famous." I finally looked her in the eye. "You happy?" She smiled faintly. "Not really. But I'm trying to be real. That's something." There was a long pause. Then she said something that landed harder than I expected. "If you ever decide you want my love again, it'll be waiting, even if it's just a memory." I didn't flinch. I didn't melt. I just stood up, walked over, and hugged her. Not the way a man hugs a woman he loves. The way someone hugs an old friend who lost the map and isn't asking to borrow yours. She didn't cry. Neither did I. But I think we both felt something close. When she left the room, she didn't look back. I did. For a second. Not because I wanted her back, but because deep down, I needed to see that chapter close with my own eyes. Went back to my life. Focused harder. Worked longer. Even dated a little, though nothing serious. I told myself I was done thinking about her. But then about a year later, a news alert popped up on my phone. Ryder Sloan caught in new scandal with assistant. Career in free fall after affair exposed. It was a predictable mess. Leaked. Texts, hotel security footage, a paparazzi shot of his assistant crying in a Range Rover. The internet tore him apart for 3 days straight. His PR team vanished. Sponsorships pulled. Even his next film premiere was postponed indefinitely. Didn't smile when I read it. I didn't gloat. But I won't lie. There was a certain balance to it. That same week, I got a message from one of our old mutual friends. She had bumped into Ellie down south, said she looked different. Not in the broken way, just in that post-storm way people do when they finally stop pretending. "She's still helping at the animal shelter," the friend said. "Didn't even mention you, but I could tell she's carrying something." I didn't respond to the message, because honestly, I didn't need to. I already knew what she was carrying, and I knew what I'd left behind. Was there still a part of me that loved her? Yeah, I think there always would be. But love doesn't survive in glass houses. Not when the cracks become walls. And me? I'm fine. Stronger. Sharper. A little more cynical. A little less trusting. But I sleep well, and I don't wait for phones to ring anymore. The story ended, and that's okay. Not all plot twists need sequels.